excited you're all here. Yes, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming.
Hey, Michelle. True. Our awesome CEOs in Portugal with a baby. Whoa, Arkley's here. Canada. More Canada.
Super fun. Super fun. Okay, great. I think we're going to go ahead and get started, everybody. So I'm going to take this slide down. Great. Okay. Tina, the floor is yours.
Hey, so hello everyone, welcome. We are really happy to have you here on the second salon that we are hosting at Maka Health, and this time focused on nutrition. So as you can see, my name is Tina and I work in marketing here at Maka. And I'm here to introduce you to Maka and welcome you to this, I would say, safe learning space. We are so excited that you're here and to learn about, listen to Danna and learn about all those things, nutrition, specifically for women during perimenopause. Now, before I move on, I just wanted to do a quick review on tech. We are recording this session. We cannot see you on the recording. We can only see your name. So if you want to change your name, do it now. No problems. And if you are happy with it, just to make sure everyone knows the session is being recorded, also to share with our colleagues that couldn't be here today. Another thing, if you are on your phone, would be better to use it on landscape mode, like sideways like this, so you can see the presentation better, right? So without further ado, I hope you love this salon. I look forward to speaking to you on the other side at the end. And I will now hand you over to Dr. AJ Falk, who's here with us. She's the Maka Health member, experience manager. AJ, over to you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Makaverse. We're so excited that you all are here to learn about all things functional wellness and nutrition in perimenopause. You may hear a bird in the background. I apologize. He's deciding to say hello as well. It's May 22nd, 2024, and I'm going to be here as your co-host. So Danna's going to be presenting, Tina's going to be hosting, and we're going to be helping you out. I'm going to move. For the next hour, we're going to be diving into your Peri-Perfect plan. So you have an idea for the layout of this event. We're going to have about a 30-minute presentation from Miss Danna. So exciting. And then we're going to move into Q&A where we'll take questions from the registration link. And then we'll also take some live questions if you have them as well. So feel free to throw those in the chat. And just to tell you a little bit more about Danna, she's a certified health coach for specializing in gut health, based in Zurich, Switzerland. Very fun. Like I said, we're pretty worldwide and work online with clients across Switzerland and the world. She's a functional medicine health coach, FMCA for short, and IIN certified with a background in psychology. Danna helps individuals to gain the knowledge, skills, and tools and confidence to take responsibility for their diet and lifestyle, enabling them to reach their health goals. She is your personal health cheerleader, guide, and accountability partner, helping implement lifestyle changes to improve her motto, brace yourself, stop dieting, start re-educating, heal your relationship with food for good. Love it. Danna's own health journey has led her to become a health coach, so she's been in your guys' shoes. And she wants to help others avoid the hardship and misery she experienced herself and empower others to reach a healthier life in their own speed and ability. The passionate public speaker today, and sure to entertain and enlighten you along the way. And now, without further ado, here is Danna for her presentation on Peri-Perfect nutrition, 8 insights from a functional gut specialist for women seeking chemotherapy. All yours, Danna.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction, AJ. And thank you, Tina, for introducing Maka to everyone. I'm going to start sharing my screen and let's dig right in. No, wait a minute. I have 2 of them over. Oh, perfect. Excellent. So today we will talk about belly fat in connection with perimenopause and its relation to blood sugar, sleep, and stress. We'll talk about the brain-gut axes and how to help with communication there, healing our relationship with food. We'll talk about the no diet approach towards healthier living and the personalized approach to our daily diets and lifestyle. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is this webinar that's about nutrition covering sleep and stress? I promise this will all become very clear very soon. But the first thing, one of the most common questions that we get from ladies 35 and up is around belly fat. And although focusing on weight is the wrong approach in this time of our lives, we can't ignore the fact that belly fat might be the new and unwelcome visitor. And it actually points to a few important things. First one is hormonal changes. And if you're here, you already know there are hormonal changes during perimenopause. During perimenopause, fluctuations in estrogen and progesterone levels can lead to changes in the body composition, including increased abdominal fat disposition. Estrogen decline is associated with a shift in fat distribution towards the abdominal region, which is particularly evident in women during perimenopause. The joys of being a woman. Second thing is insulin resistance. We at functional medicine recognize insulin resistance as a common metabolic issue that can contribute to belly fat accumulation during perimenopause. Insulin resistance occurs when cells become less responsive to insulin, leading to elevated blood sugar levels and increased fat storage. Again, you guessed it, especially around the abdomen. Third topic, and literally one of my favorites, is stress and sleep. Chronic stress, which is common during perimenopause due to hormonal changes, life stressors, and lack of quality sleep, can lead to overproduction of cortisol, known as the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol levels can promote abdominal fat deposition and contribute to insulin resistance, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. Inflammation. We also recognize chronic low-grade inflammation as a contributing factor to belly fat accumulation and metabolic dysfunction during perimenopause. Inflammation disturbs hormonal signaling, impairs insulin sensitivity, and promotes fat storage in the abdominal area. And of course, gut health. Imbalances in the gut microbiome, such as dysbiosis and increased gut permeability, maybe you've heard of leaky gut, can contribute to systemic inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, and weight gain, including abdominal obesity. We couldn't emphasize enough the importance of optimizing gut health through dietary intervention and lifestyle modifications. So, as you can see, everything is interconnected. And as you can maybe already gather, belly fat is really just a sign that things are out of balance and that your health is being compromised. Focusing on weight is not really the best thing to do at this time of our lives, not only because we probably have been focusing on it way too much most of our lives, but also because it becomes yet another stressor and puts you in deprivation mode instead of self-love mode. So let's talk about how we can bring our bodies to a more balanced state. And I promise that the weight will balance itself out when you put emphasis on the topics that we'll cover and prioritize self-love and health. Dig in. Hormonal changes. So, although we're used to taking on the world since we are all superwomen, the hormonal changes we go through during perimenopause are unfortunately normal. At this time of our lives, we're not only dealing with the emotional and physical changes in our body, but we, of course, are also responsible for our children, household, work, aging parents, catching up with technology, and the list goes on. While we've managed stress better during our 20s and 30s, we're now having a harder time to do so, even without the external changes and dynamics of the day-to-day life. But we're not meant to suffer through our entire life, not during PMS and not going towards menopause. The changes we go through can be supported by our nutrition and lifestyle and be a lot less dramatic than we're being told is the norm. So let's talk about why our bodies struggle and what we can do about it. And by the way, if you didn't join our first webinar, Dr. Mary explained this topic so beautifully. I don't want to repeat things, but I do recommend getting a hold of the recording and catching up on all the nuggets that we shared on Maka's social media channels. Diving in, we have all heard of insulin resistance and we're told to lay off the sugar. But what does it all mean? To put it all in simple terms, we need to balance our blood sugar levels in order to avoid becoming insulin resistant. And unfortunately, sugar is not the only problem here. Persistent high blood sugar levels can lead to insulin resistance, a condition where cells become less responsive to the effects of insulin. Insulin resistance impairs the body's ability to regulate blood sugar levels, and it leads to further increases in blood sugar and insulin levels. When our blood sugar levels aren't balanced, we get hungry very quickly. Some might even feel faint. We then reach out for more sugar or empty carbs, which only keeps us in the cycle of dipping energy and consumption of more unhealthy foods, which affects our sleep and stress, which I will touch later on today. We have a harder time managing our emotions. Fluctuations in blood sugar levels can lead to energy highs and crashes throughout the day. Spikes in blood sugar, followed by rapid drops, result in fatigue, mood swings, irritability, and difficulty concentrating. Imbalanced blood sugar levels disturb hormonal balance, particularly affecting insulin, cortisol, estrogen, and testosterone levels. Dysregulation of hormones leads to metabolic dysfunction, weight gain, and other symptoms associated with hormonal imbalance. Prolonged imbalances in blood sugar levels, insulin resistance, and abdominal obesity can lead to metabolic syndrome, which is a cluster of conditions including high blood pressure, elevated blood sugar, high cholesterol levels, and increased risk of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. High blood sugar levels and insulin resistance contribute to chronic low-grade inflammation in the body. Inflammation plays a key role in the development of various chronic diseases, including cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, autoimmune disorders, and neurodegenerative conditions. So, what do we do, and how can we make sure to avoid getting sicker with age? First thing that we should do is consider how you usually break your fast. Meaning, what do you eat when you first have a meal, whether it's at 7 o'clock in the morning or at noon? If it consists of sweet or empty carbs, so think cereal, toast, pancakes, orange juice, or even oatmeal, the first information that goes into your body is going to wreak havoc in your system. The energy that you're getting from such a breakfast is not sustainable. You basically are setting yourself up for a roller coaster day where your blood sugar will be dramatically fluctuating. And although you'll feel like you're getting energy from your breakfast, you'll quickly need another pick-me-up, whether it's sugar, carbs, or caffeine. And that's when the vicious cycle begins. If we want to break that vicious cycle, instead of having this high sugar, high carb breakfast, go for high protein, low or better no carb breakfast with good healthy fats and colorful vegetables. Think eggs with avocado and tomato, or a delicious chia pudding with coconut milk and nuts, veggie loaded frittata, or even a colorful salad with chicken breast strips. When it comes to snacks, if you feel that you need one, and by the way, don't be surprised if you don't feel like you need one after such a great breakfast, go for protein, veggies, and healthy fats, and a small amount of smart carbs, complex and not flour-based. A handful of raw nuts, such as macadamia or pecan, and a piece of fruit like a banana, will go a long way, and it's a quick and great solution. As for main meals, replace simple carbs with complex ones and enjoy those last. Start with quality proteins and make sure to include colorful vegetables. Think eat the rainbow. And make sure to have sufficient amounts of healthy fats. By the way, our Maka clients get to enjoy a huge sample of recipes and menu plans, which go along beautifully with this new healthy and improved lifestyle. Last but not least, movement. Don't hate me yet. You don't have to start hitting the gym on a daily basis. Actually, the opposite is true. Just taking 10 to 20-minute walk after a meal helps balance your sugar level as well as help your body digest the food better. Now, I said it already, my favorite two topics. I can talk about sleep and stress for days. These are two huge and intertwined factors which contribute to our struggles in life: sleep and stress. Let's talk about how stress works in our brain. One thing that that not many people know is how our brain and body actually work when we're under stress. Although many people think we've evolved since we were cavemen, our brains still function in the same way. When we were cavemen, our stressors involved being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, running for our lives, and hiding in another cave, not knowing when we'll be able to go back home or when our next meal will be. In that moment, our brain commands our body to stop all digestion and store energy in fat cells so that in a few days' time, we'll have enough energy to run back home once the saber-toothed tiger gave up on us as being his next meal. As we know, there are no saber-toothed tigers chasing us nowadays, and most of our stressors don't require us to actually move. Our lives are sedentary, and yet our brains still work the same. Now, add in there the fact that nowadays we rely heavily on emotional eating and will often crave addictive food-like products to relieve us from our stress, which, as you probably already know, don't actually work. So we're eating the wrong fuel while our bodies don't even digest it. And you can be sure that if you haven't had sufficient quality sleep, the hormone in your brain that signals when we're full is actually dormant. So you can't even stop eating the food that most likely shouldn't have been going into your body in that moment, or maybe even ever. Speaking of sleep, we all have had these nights where stress keeps us up, or we wake up in the middle of the night and can't fall back asleep because our stressors are looping in our brain. The next day, we have a hard time functioning with foggy brain and consistent craving for energy. And unfortunately, instead of translating that need for energy as take a bloody nap, we reach out for carbs, sugar, and caffeine to keep us going. So as you can see, it is an endless cycle where one thing feeds the other. And unless we break that cycle, we'll be struggling with a host of issues for the rest of our lives. So what do we do about it? All right, again, don't hate me, but please prioritize your sleep. And I know what you're thinking. I need my me time, or I'm a night person, and there's no way that I'm going to go to sleep at 10 p.m. instead of 1 a.m. I recommend starting small, making sure that you go to sleep just 15 to 30 minutes earlier for a week, and continuing shifting the bedtime in small intervals. The longer you get to sleep before midnight, the better. Screen in the bedroom. Again, I know people hate me before they love Megan, but listen up. Leave it out of your bedroom. And that's phones, iPads, computers, TV, the work. In theory, you should try to avoid screen time a few good hours before you go to bed. And I know that for some, it's a huge shift. So just start by leaving it out of the bedroom. Avoid using it before going to sleep, and also as soon as you wake up. Give yourself an hour or two before you reach out for your phone. Choosing a balanced diet. Your diet will either support you with stress management or simply support your stress. Food-like products that are lacking nutrients and full of chemicals and unhealthy ingredients are a huge stress factor on your body. Make small steps forward, bettering your diet, focusing on quality proteins, colorful vegetables, and limited complex carbs. Stress management. We'll have to have a whole webinar about this topic in the upcoming months. But the one thing that you can start doing is breathing exercises. Even just taking 3 deep belly breaths will already help your body calm down a bit. And it will take you exactly 30 seconds each time. So there is literally no excuse not to do that. Last but not least, make sure to get direct sunlight, at least 10 to 30 minutes in a day. Best as soon as you wake up. Midday works as well. Okay. But just get that sun, and light from the computer does not count. Okay. Let's talk about inflammation and the brain-gut axis. So, do you remember the days when we were told that the brain is the body's hardware and that it commands the body and sends out all the information to the rest of the body? We now know that out of 100% information moving back and forth between the brain and the gut, only 10% is coming from the brain. And the rest, meaning 90% for those who are bad in math as I am, is actually coming from the gut. This means that although we don't like this statement, we really are what we eat. The information we provide our body in the form of food then provides information to the brain. So if you're feeling happy or depressed, hyper or down, brain fog or super sharp, this literally all has to do with what you're feeding your gut. And you won't only notice it with how your brain is functioning. Having food that does not support our gut, our health, will also lead to inflammation in the body and in the brain. This means that you might see a flare-up of your eczema or skin hives. You might get pain in an old injury. If you have an autoimmune disease, you'll notice symptoms relating to that. Your period might be stronger and more painful, or maybe your back will go out after just a small move. So it's super important to try to remove the food-like products that support inflammation. When it comes to perimenopause, it's even more important to focus on certain foods. And I know that's why you're here. So this is what you want to focus on. First thing is whole foods. Emphasize a diet rich in whole, minimally processed foods, such as fruits, vegetables, whole grain, not whole grain pasta, whole grains, lean proteins, or any proteins to be honest, healthy fat, and legumes. These foods provide essential nutrients, fiber, and antioxidants to support overall health. Phytoestrogens. Incorporate foods rich in phytoestrogens such as soy products, so tofu, tempeh, and edamame, flax seeds, sesame seeds, lentils, chickpeas, and whole grains. Phytoestrogens may help with perimenopause symptoms by utilizing weak estrogen-like effects in the body. Healthy fats, yet another topic I can talk about for hours, but you want to include sources of healthy fats in your diet, such as avocados or avocado oil, nuts and seeds, olive oil, butter, ghee, and fatty fish like salmon. Omega-3 fatty acids in particular have anti-inflammatory properties and may help reduce inflammation associated with perimenopause, so a supplement will actually be great as well. Certain vitamins and minerals such as calcium, vitamin D, and iron-rich foods are important at this time of life. Prioritizing those, so maybe calcium-rich foods like fortified plant-based milks or leafy greens, broccoli, tofu, almonds, and vitamin D sources like fatty fish, egg yolks, and sunlight exposure to support bone health and reduce the risk of osteoporosis. If you also want to support your bone health, make sure to muscle train because our muscles make our bones strong. AJ is saying yes, because that's her topic. where was I consume iron-rich foods such as meat, poultry, fish, beans, lentils, and tofu to prevent iron deficiency anemia, especially if you're experiencing heavy menstrual bleeding during perimenopause. Hydration, super important. Most people nowadays are dehydrated. Like most people are constantly dehydrated. Stay hydrated by drinking plenty of water throughout the day and start introducing a clean source of electrolyte, especially if you're working out or in a warm country. Limit caffeine and alcohol intake, don't hate me. And those can actually elevate the symptoms of hot flashes and mood swings. And speaking of caffeine and alcohol, try to limit the caffeine and alcohol intake because they really can disturb sleep, exacerbate hormonal fluctuations, and worsen symptoms like hot flashes and mood swings. And when I say limits, I mean like 1 cup of coffee early in the morning is plenty. And actually for some, it's even too much. 1 cup of wine a month should really be sufficient. You're getting old, start acting like it. But in all seriousness, if you have issues with sleep, these are the 2 things that I would start dropping from your diet and see if things improve in the first few months. Mindful eating, another super topic. I literally can speak about this for days, but just for today, practice mindful eating by paying attention to hunger cues. Eat slowly, savor your meal, avoid screens and distractions while you eat, and put down the fork and knife between each bite. Another super important thing to do is removing addictive foods and food-like products. It actually does help lower inflammation and enhance the communication between the gut and the brain. So if you can visualize our brain-gut axis like a highway, imagine the addictive foods are like super heavy fog. So although your gut might be trying to tell your brain to feed it more nutritious food, that heavy fog blurs out that information and changes it to give me more sugar, please. We have to get rid of that fog for the communication to be clear and true. So when you think of removing these foods, think of sugar replacements, and chemical sweeteners, E numbers, and other ingredients that you most likely can't even pronounce. While flour-based foods should probably be second in line. And unfortunately, today I don't have enough time to get into that one. It's best to stick to foods in their original forms to make your lives much easier. Unfortunately, most packaged foods will be full of these and more. And please don't forget, and this is probably the most important thing that I will say today, listen to your body. If you have a bad digestion, if you have a low immune system, if you have chronic issues, the suggestions that I've mentioned might not be suitable for you. This is why a personalized approach is so important. There's no reason our diets should be the same. Our guts are all different, just like our thumbprints are. As much as I want to give you advice that will be good for everyone across the board, it's quite literally impossible for me to do so, unfortunately. Oh man, this topic, again, it probably has been a whole lot of webinar on its own. As you can imagine, what's been set in our brains since we were kids is not easy to cover in just a few minutes. But just think of the time when you were a kid, right? You were playing outside and you fell off your bike, you run home crying with a bleeding knee, and after a warm hug from your parents, you quickly are told that it's not too bad, or stop crying, and probably given something to eat to calm you down. And most likely it wasn't a carrot, but rather a carrot cake. Sound familiar? We basically learned from a young age that our feelings are not that bad, to stop crying or hide our feelings and to push them down with sweets. Not a big surprise, most of us nowadays use food as an emotional crutch. So next time you feel like you're emotional and are about to reach out for food to suppress your emotions, try to do the following. Again, take 3 deep belly breaths. Try to listen to your body. Is it hunger? Is it emotion? It might be both. Notice the feeling and name it. If possible, invite that invite that feeling for a cup of tea. Instead of pushing it down, bring it up and confront it. Walk, run, cry, shower, talk your feeling. Basically, feel all your feels without dismissing them. When you're done with all of that and you still feel like you need a snack, grab the snack. It's okay. And I'm sure that when you do, you'll end up having a lot less of it because now you've shifted your energy to self-love. And speaking of which, give yourself a big hug. Self-love is much better than self-loathing after the fact. So we talked about it a bit, but what actually did we learn today? First thing is that diet, it just equals deprivation and punishment. It's never worked in the long run before. And now that we're at this very vulnerable age, it's definitely not going to work. Instead, changing lifestyle in small and sustainable steps equals growth and improvement and self-love. Super important. No diet fits all, unfortunately. And the personalized approach is the most important. This is what we do at Maka Health. We help you discover your needs and build with you the diet and lifestyle that will work best for you. I can't emphasize enough the importance of individualized nutrition plans based on metabolic health markers, hormonal status, and of course, personal preferences. So that was my blurb. I would love to answer any questions in the time that we have left.
Awesome. Danna, thank you so much. So much great information in there. And we did have some questions on the registration link. You're good if we go ahead and answer a few of those?
Let's try.
Let's do it. Okay. Yeah, I hope you can too. What are some ways to improve liver function and when to eat when you're stressed or you don't digest food very well? What do you feel about that? Yeah.
Let me answer the second question first. What do we eat when we can't digest well? The real question is, if it's not able to digest well because we're stressed, don't eat. That's not the time to eat. That's the time to try to meditate, take deep breaths, try some grounding, whatever helps you calm down and relax a bit. You know, there's plenty of things on Spotify to listen to and try to calm down a bit. If your body is not able to digest on a regular basis, that's a different issue. And that definitely needs more testing and more discovery. But don't eat when you're stressed is my really quick answer to that. When it comes to liver, again, it kind of depends what we're talking about. Everything that I mentioned before in terms of the insulin resistance, or, you know, it could be fatty liver, etc. This will all come into effect as well when it comes to the liver. But in functional medicine, we try to figure out not what is the problem, but what is the cause of the problem. And so we need to understand what the problem is when it comes to the liver and what was the cause of it. If it is food, if it is insulin resistance, etc., then I think I gave a lot of information, Art, hopefully.
Yes. Okay, great. And just to follow up to get more specifics on the stress piece. So are you recommending maybe like take a few moments, like 5 to 10 minutes, or do you need to add more time in there? Like how much time should people be giving themselves?
Until you feel that you're relaxed. I mean, I have a very cool trick that I use myself. It's called grounding, but it's not necessarily, you know, walking barefoot in the forest, but rather to start naming things that are around you. And I find that is very, very, you know, it helps to relax because our stressors are usually not tangible, right? We can't take them and toss them out of the window. It's impossible. They're just in our head and we need to get out of our own head. So when you're feeling stressed, if you just start naming and if possible, touching and saying it out loud, whatever you have around you. So I'm touching the desk now, right? I'll say desk, computer, cup, and then I'll start looking around and say TV and window, et cetera, until I actually feel that I'm out of my own head, right? And you can repeat things. I've had meetings where I was sitting there and I was ready to scream, and I just repeated things that were around me. There wasn't much, but it really does help you kind of go, okay, I'm here. I can touch this. I can feel this. If you say it out loud, it's even better. So if you're alone, or if you're people who hopefully think you lost it and will leave the room, they're probably the stressors anyways. Those are really good ways to try to kind of calm down. And even when you're about to sit down and eat, okay, if you're between meetings, you're trying to squeeze in a meal, you're freaking out about the time in the meeting before and the meeting after, sit down. Okay, the food is there. Grab your fork, stay fork, grab your knife, stay knife, grab your plate, so really kind of calm down and find a space where you're able to feel that you're ready to eat.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying. That's awesome. Great little tidbits and things that people can maybe give a try. Do you have any advice of what to eat to reduce mood swings or hormone fluctuations? I know that could be different depending on the person potentially, but is there anything that would be globally helpful?
Healthy food. Honestly, I know we reach out. My favorite food crutch is potato chips, and everyone who knows me knows that. My parents used to bring me family-sized Lay's potato chips from the States. I love potato chips, okay? But I also notice my mood when I eat a whole family. I do not share my potato chips, by the way. So I will eat that whole bag on my own. The food that we put in our body makes such a big difference. And if we're able to remove those certain foods and just focus on better stuff. So, you know what? If you're, you love your potato chips and you're like, nope, not giving those up. Fine. But maybe start before you reach out for those potato chips, grab some hummus and veggie sticks, grab some nuts and fruit, grab something that you know is healthier, and then go for the potato. Fact is, you might not even be that hungry for it. And again, we're focusing on self-love. Because we're focusing on self-love, you're going to be like, I just gave myself such good food. Why would I even go? I'll leave the potato chips for next time when I really need them, right? And even if you do choose to have those potato chips afterwards, or ice cream or chocolate, whatever, fill in the blank, you will definitely have less of it because now your stomach is also full with good stuff. So I know it sounds very kind of like, stop eating garbage, but stop eating garbage is really the message here, because it does not support us and we will feel it even more so. We become more sensitive at perimenopause, unfortunately, and we need to treat our body like the haven that it actually is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, your body is your fuel source. Like whatever you give it is going to be how you execute life. So that's a very good point. Someone asked, specific to gluten-free diet, they mentioned, I'm on a gluten-free diet, so I wonder if this limits my options. One, I think gluten-free is just getting so much bigger and bigger these past few years, but curious to see what your take is on it. Because they're gluten-free, does it really limit their diet, or what advice do you have for those people?
I honestly think that going gluten-free is one of the things that everyone should be doing, in full honesty. If I have time to go into it a little bit, basically, I mentioned leaky gut just really quickly. Gluten is one of the bigger, gluten, stress, a lot of things, right? But gluten is one of the main contributors to leaky gut, unfortunately. And leaky gut will then lead to more food sensitivities, more inflammation, more health issues. It could lead to autoimmune disease. I mean, again, everything is really intertwined. So if you ask me, I think gluten does not have a space in our diet. And I think it actually opens up doors a lot more, because when you're relying on gluten, you're basically having bread at least once a day and you're having maybe pizza or, pasta or whatever. When you're going gluten-free, and maybe the gluten-free options are not great, although nowadays they're better, but, no one really wants to replace their glutinous, beautiful pasta with like chickpea pasta. Like let's be real, right? Then you find other ways. You find other things to have. You cook a beautiful quinoa or a beautiful whole grain, or maybe you cut down on the grains too, and you go for more proteins and vegetables and healthy fats, which is the best way around it. So I don't believe that gluten-free is limiting, What I do believe is that many, many things that are gluten-free products out there, gluten-free breads and other things, are actually almost worse. So you want to just look at the ingredients. No matter what you're eating, just look at the ingredients, right? And if it's full of like corn and starches, it's not going to support your health either. But if it's brown rice pasta, you don't have to not have pasta for the rest of your life. Brown rice pasta is a perfect solution to replace it. So I honestly think it's a better way about it, and loads of luck with a gluten-free diet. It's great. I feel much better without it.
Oh, that's good. Just to bring up a little question out of what you just mentioned regarding like the ingredient label. I think a lot of people hear the advice of, okay, the more stuff on the ingredient label, the worse the product may be. What's your advice? Maybe not specifically the gluten-free, but when looking at the ingredient label, what should we be looking for?
Really good question. Thanks, AJ. So always look at the ingredients. I honestly almost don't care about the box with the calories and fat and stuff like that. Don't even look at that, right? Because if it's high fat, but the fat is coconut oil, then it's fine, right? Fat does not make us fat, actually. So we want to look at the ingredients. We want to understand what each one is. If you have time to Google each ingredient when you're standing there, maybe it takes a little bit of time in the first go, but you'll soon like understand how limited the products are that you can buy. Focus on the fresh stuff. Always look at the ingredients. And if there's something there that you don't recognize or can't pronounce, just leave it out. Do yourself a favor. E-numbers. Most of the E-numbers are not great, but there are E-numbers that are okay. Some of them will just be like lemon, right? So download an app for E-numbers. There's quite a few of them. Plug in the number. It will already give you a color code, right? So if you know that it's green or yellow, okay, I'll have it. If it's orange or red, I'm not touching it. So really just try to understand what you're putting in your body, what fats and oils to avoid versus the ones to kind of focus on. So sunflower oil, leave it out. Rapeseed oil, leave it out. All of the vegetable oils we want to leave out. We want to go for things that are just super healthy that will nourish our body.
Awesome. And for our Canadian or North American listeners, the E level scores is on European packaging, and it gives a letter grade and a color to indicate how healthy or unhealthy the food is. So if you don't have that, just use the other advice that Danna just gave in there. It's actually super cool. If you ever go to Europe, take a peek at the packaging. It's a really cool system that they use.
It's much easier. It is definitely much easier, but also like, again, it makes it almost easier in the States because then you see like, okay, I cannot pronounce this word, or I don't have this in my cupboard. So why would I put it in my body? And that just makes it very simple to choose.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. The next question is, and forgive my pronunciation, it's a harder word. Where do you get a clean magnesium glycinate? Yes, it's that pronunciation. Okay. And the person is asking in Switzerland specifically, but maybe you could give like a more global understanding. And they followed up by saying the only one I've seen is the one from Pure, and that has extra unclean things in it. So, I mean, maybe you know more about that question than I do, but yeah.
It sounds like it might be a client of mine.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Yes. I would say in terms of global wise, iHerb is a great place to find good quality supplements. Not everything is good quality there. You have to do your due diligence. You have to check ingredients. You have to see what they are just as much as you look at food ingredients. In terms of Switzerland specifically, there's a site called Whey Protein or Lee Sport. Either one will work on Google. And that's where you can actually find very, very clean magnesium. I think magnesium is one of those things that most people are low on and should probably take, but it's always good to do some blood tests and understand for sure what you need.
Awesome. There was a second part to this question. And it says magnesium glycinate is supposed to be good for perimenopausal women and their sleep. Is that also something true and that you find with the magnesium glycinate?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Magnesium for sure will help you sleep better. But again, if you're having sleep issues, if you're drinking 3 cups of coffee a day and you're having sleep issues and taking magnesium, the magnesium is not going to do magic, right? So we need to understand what the cause of it is. It could be certain amino acids that you're low on, like tryptophan. It could be other things, right? It could just be the stress. So we need to fully understand where it's coming from. And I would first start with the caffeinated drinks and the alcohol. But you can always include the magnesium. Just don't expect it to work wonders if other things are a bit out of whack.
Fair enough. It's not like a one size fits all one time solution. You got to do other things too.
Nothing is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, a lot of it in functional wellness and functional medicine is got to try a bunch of things holistically to make everything work together. Okay, and then there's this one question, and less about food, more about just like the perimenopausal transition. And this can just be your opinion, but this person's asking how to be your best self and feel comfortable with this major transition with food in mind. And I know you talked about not trying to lose weight during this time of transition and giving yourself a little bit of grace. What is, if you were to be talking to your personal clients, what is the advice you give them at this time?
Self-love. That's literally the only thing, because look, think about it this way, right? If you imagine your body as a car, right? I mean, we would never dare to put the wrong gasoline or the wrong oil in our car because we want it to take us places safely without breaking down on the way. But we're giving our body the wrong fuel every single day, sometimes numerous times a day. And we're expecting it to just, we hate our body when it's gaining weight or when it's this or when it's that. And it's a bit of a, oxymoron there. So what if we shift our attention to self-love? If we say, okay, I'm not going on a diet to deprive myself because I hate my body, but I'm going to eat healthier food. I'm going to choose healthier options whenever possible, right? And I'm going to do that because my body deserves it and I deserve aging better. Then our shift is not about weight, and it's not about deprivation, and it's not about being angry at yourself. And then when you do end up having a cookie or potato chips or ice cream or whatever, again, to sit there and go, I ruined everything. I'm a terrible person. I might as well now have, and then it's like a 2-week binge on I might as well. Then we kind of defeat the purpose. So instead of focusing on the, oh crap, I'm such a terrible person, focus on, okay, I love myself, I forgive myself, and let's just move on. The next meal that I'm going to have is a good, healthy meal because I deserve it and because I feel better after it. The momentary feeling good of eating sugar and processed foods is really momentary, and then we feel like crap for the rest of the time versus eating healthy and actually feeling better incrementally. So self-love is the answer to that.
Very key there.
Yes.
Very broad question, but such great advice. And I think that is a perfect way to wrap up the Q&A part, ending on such a happy note. Danna, thank you so much for all of your insight. There's lots of things that I learned, and I'm sure a bunch of other people learned. Everybody stay on the line. We do have a quick feedback form, and that's just going to help us to be better in the future and give Danna some insight if she needs to add anything or to make her presentation better as well. So stay on the line. I see a lot of them in the chat coming up here. So yeah, Tina, I'll hand it over to you, and I'm going to put up our QR link.
Oh, thank you, AJ. Thank you so much, Danna. But especially thank you, everyone, for joining us and staying with us till now. I hope you were able to learn about nutrition and the habits that will lead us to successful eating. We are what we eat at the end of the day, right? As they say. So before you leave, I would really love, we would love you can scan this QR code, and we'll have a few questions for you. I'm also sharing the link on our chat. So takes less than 5 minutes. Give us your feedback. What did you like? What would you like to learn more on the next salons? It would be great for us to know, to improve for our next salon. We'll also be emailing you this form for feedback and the recording of today's session. We'll also give you an opportunity for the ones who are on this call to book a consultation call with us. If you feel maybe you have more questions or you want to ask a specific question for your personalized nutrition or health or any other concerns, maybe regarding perimenopause. So check out your emails. We'll be sending it in the next few days. So again, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on our next salon. We already have a date, 19th of June. Put it in your diary and I'll see you guys there. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.